Hello, happy Thursday, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to part 2 of how to reinvent yourself. If you haven't seen the first video, make sure you watch that first because this will be a 7-part series, so just make sure you give that one a watch first because in that one I went over what the series is really about and just the first steps of reinventing yourself. So welcome to the second episode. I'm very excited. In today's episode, we're answering a very important question and one that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, and that is, who are you? Really. I'm very excited about this episode. As I said in the first video, I have done a lot of research and planning. I'm just really excited to share it because I feel like figuring out who you are is honestly such a fun task. So let's just get right into the video. So I think the most important thing when you're defining who you are is establishing your core values and your beliefs as a person. While you're doing this, I think it's really important to give yourself the space to grow, not just mentally, but also physically. This is still achievable even if you're in the same space physically. So just little things to change your environment, which again, I talked about this in my last video, which you can watch right here if you haven't seen that yet. Change your environment to reflect who you are as a person. So for me, for example, I'll show you, but I put little things in my room. The 2 posters I have up are the short films that the 2 of my really great friends have created, and it keeps me inspired to continue creating. And I have other posters in my room. Those are just from an old Playboy magazine that my friend gave me. We were just going through the pages and I picked some that I really liked. On my desk, I have some flowers just because I really love flowers, and also those were the flowers that my boyfriend gave to me when he came and surprised me in Toronto. I have some art pieces, some of my favorite books, just little things that represent me. I think it's just so fun designing your space in general and just having constant reminders of like, this is who I am. So yeah, they can be things that you like, also like inspirational things, just any little thing. So yeah, that's the first step. In terms of actually establishing your core values and beliefs, 2 important questions you can ask yourself are, what do you value about yourself and what are your weak points? For example, something that I really value about myself is the fact that I'm such a huge planner. As I said, I did a lot of research and planning, so doing that whole thing was so fun to me. I'm very organized. I love apps that help you organize yourself too, like Notion, for example, is a big one, which is what I'm using for keeping track of my ideas in this video. But in relation to that, my weak point is that I'm not consistent enough. So even if you look at my YouTube channel, I was really consistent the first few months of the year, and then I kind of fell off, and I planned like all the videos I wanted to do for the year. Like I had 52 videos planned and I went in depth with all of them. I had some other ideas that I could do, you know, maybe if I wanted to upload twice a week later, but I just didn't do it. And that was my weak point, and that's something that I'm still working on, but something that I've acknowledged about myself, and I'm working towards fixing that. And a way that I'm fixing that is realizing like I wouldn't cancel on my friends like that, so why would I cancel on myself in a way? But yeah, I think acknowledging the things that you value within yourself and your weak points are super important. That's like a crucial first step in defining who you are. And then the second part to that is understanding your core values. For example, for me, I was like a really weird kid growing up, right? I wasn't really weird, but you know, like I was just a kid, but I wasn't popular. I had an ex-best friend who hated my music taste, which I was so insecure about for so long, which is wild because I need music in every aspect of my life. When I'm script writing, I have different playlists and folders of, you know, songs that get me in the vibe or songs that belong in that world that I'm creating. But yeah, I was so scared of just sharing my music. Like someone's like, oh, grab aux. I was like, no, I think I'm okay. I'll just listen to whatever you guys like. So yeah, understanding who you are as a person, like tapping into your core values and accentuating that part of you is really important. You know, things that you don't want to change, like me being a weird kid, which I wasn't even weird to be honest, but it's like not being ashamed of that part of yourself. But then also if you want to change some of your core values, you know, to realign with this new version of you, you know, going back to those 2 questions that I asked before, you can maybe answer in a way where it's like, what do you want to value in yourself as a person? And then looking at your weak points and being like, how would that change in this new version of you? The next topic I want to talk about is fixing thinking patterns. This is really important if you're trying to transform yourself and become the best version of yourself. It's really easy to play the victim and fall into that victim mentality. I've done it, you know, I feel like we've all done it, but there's 4 steps that I take when I am trying to fix those patterns. The first one is to sit down and write down your negative emotions. And in doing this, you can kind of journal about it, and it might take a while, you know, it's not an easy process, but it's worth it because then you can figure out where that stems from and then find out your triggers from that and just get to the root of the actual issue. The second thing I like to do is just take a break from social media. I know it's really hard, but I feel like a lot of negative emotions can stem from, you know, seeing people that have the things that we don't have or the things that we want. For example, for me, when I was single, I was like seeing all these people that were in these great relationships. And of course it can bring you inspiration, like, oh, this is the type of relationship I want. This is the type of life I want to live. But when you look at it too often, it's really easy to forget that, obviously social media, we're just going to put out what we want the world to see. We're not going to go into the lows of it and share those vulnerable parts of our life. But social media is just such an easy way to compare ourselves in a very negative way. So just take a break from social media. The third thing I like to do, and this is really hard, but replace those negative emotions while you're in the moment. You're rewiring your brain to take a different approach to something that would have caused you pain and harm, to react in a more positive manner or the way that aligns with this new version of yourself. But again, that's hard because you're just so used to reacting a certain way. But really just like taking the time in the moment, even if you have to take a deep breath or two, like just being in the moment, calming yourself down and reevaluating the situation and seeing how you should appropriately respond. My last tip is to build tolerance before you're in that situation. You can journal about it, write how you would want to react, how the best version of you would react in that situation. So that way when a situation like that does present itself, if it ever does, then you're more prepared and you know that you can take the positive approach or the approach that, works best for you. I'm going to give an example of how I've changed one of my negative thinking patterns. I don't want to get too personal just because I don't want to throw this person under the bus, but I have a friend, right? And we don't have the best relationship, but we're supposed to be best friends. And for years I was victimizing myself. And to be fair, at one point I was, I don't want to say victim, but I was definitely affected by this person. And that caused me to react differently in a lot of situations. Before that, I was very much a pushover. Not that that was good. Also looking at every situation as like, a very important stepping stone to becoming the person that you're supposed to be, right? But in this situation, I was such a pushover for so many years. I was told to basically walk on eggshells around this person. And for years I did that. Then after a few years, I was like, I was just tired of it. Then I just stopped. I was just a bitch. I was so rude to this person. Not all the time, obviously, but like, for example, if a situation escalated with this person, instead of me usually backing down, I was just like, I was rude to them. My tone was so mean. Like my mom told me that so many times for years. She was like, you need to fix your tone. It's very rude when, it's very rude when you're arguing with people. And I didn't see an issue with it. Like I knew my tone was rude, but I was like, well, that's, what this person gets. And it took me so long, and I wanted to fix this relationship with this person, but it took me so long to fully forgive them. Everyone around me was like, you need to fix this relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not ready. I was like, you can't force me to. I don't think I'll ever be ready, blah, blah, blah. And time does heal. I know it's annoying to hear that, but time really does heal. I genuinely did not see myself having a relationship with this person. I went to therapy and she was like, like you should talk to this person about it. And I was like, yeah, when I'm ready, I guess. And I've been in therapy for a long time, but I was like, nah, I'm just not ready. And I know I should, but I don't want to. A part of me felt like they didn't deserve my forgiveness. And what they did wasn't even terrible. Like, they're a great person, but I just wasn't ready. And when I finally was ready, it was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And I talked to this person about it and I was like, hey, I didn't realize until recently, but I got mad at you, and I was mad at you for years because of what you did to me. And I'm realizing now that I'm treating you the way that you treated me. And throughout this also, the person did change. Like, I'm not saying stay in a terrible friendship or relationship, whatever, but because I've walked away from friendships because I was not being treated the way that I should be treated. So I've walked away from relationships and friendships, but with this person, I wanted them in my life. I just didn't know how to approach it, so I had the conversation with them and I journaled about it and I prepared myself, I was building a tolerance for when I would see this person and how I would react if they, if things escalated or I was put in a situation that would trigger me to be rude to them. And it was hard. It was very, very hard to do that, but it was so worth it in the end because now, we're still rekindling and I'm still rebuilding this relationship, but I love this person and I want them in my life now. It's still a little, there's still some moments where I still have to fix those sticking patterns, but if I didn't take a step back and realize that I was still victimizing myself because I was so used to being the victim around this person for so many years. I was like, well, I'm the victim and it's up to them. Again, this person changed and I saw that they changed for the better, but I was still like, no, because of what you did to me years ago, and it's hard. I know it's hard, but you just have to forgive people sometimes. If they're actually assholes and they're treating you like shit, leave immediately. But, this person was not an asshole. They just had their moments that weren't necessarily the best, but everyone does. So yeah, that was a little example I wanted to share. That was a little longer of an explanation, but I just thought it was important to share. Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is to get hobbies. When you're defining yourself, you can be like, what would my day-to-day look like? What would this person be doing all the time? So it's really important to just get hobbies. I think it's important to have 3 hobbies. The first one is just a personal or like a creative hobby. For me, that's script writing and doing art. I still love doing art. I try to make time for it. Just finding a creative outlet for you and just a personal hobby that you love. The second one is a hobby that helps you with your career or to make money. For me, again, that script writing doesn't necessarily bring me in money yet, but it is helping with my career because, I want to be in the film industry. So, and the the last hobby is to get something that helps with your learning and just overall knowledge. You know, for me, that's reading a lot of books. I love self-help books. They're really the only books that I read. Sometimes I try to read fiction books, but I just love self-help books and that's helped with my knowledge. But yeah, just finding hobbies, at least 3 hobbies that will help you, that your ideal self would be doing. The next topic is looking at as if you're creating a character, because in a way you are. It's like choosing your own avatar, designing them how you want them to be. So, which again, I think is so fun. Maybe it's just because I love script writing and I love creating characters, but it's like looking at yourself in a way that it's like, yeah, I am like a character. I just think it's fun looking at yourself as like a character that you get to design and choose the best path for, you know? And to do this, you can just visualize your ideal self, looking at your lifestyle. Like, what do you want this person to do? What is their career? How are their finances? What relationships do they have? How does their partner treat them? What is their education? What does their environment look like? What do they do for fun? Answering those questions, which will also help with your, you know, finding hobbies, because you're like, oh, this person does this for fun, or they do this for their health. Just really visualizing that and conceptualizing that and just writing it out, just journaling it. I'm, as we know, a huge advocate for journaling. But what is your ideal life? Just figuring out what that ideal lifestyle is for you and tapping into all those categories. My next tip is to go on Pinterest for this. And, you know, I'm a very visual person, and I feel like a lot of us are, especially when it comes to designing your future and defining who you are. Looking at the same thing every single day will kind of change that outcome, because you're manifesting it in a way, right? Like, so yeah, go on Pinterest or whatever your favorite app is and just find images that represent you. And another important tip I have for this is, when you are doing this, find people that look like you, because I did this for so many years and I would just find like skinny blonde blue-eyed girls. Like, that's what, you know, that was just what popped up. I wasn't typing that in, but it's really important, I feel like, to find people that look like you so it can resonate with you even more, because when you have visuals that already look like you, it's so much easier to visualize yourself in that situation and in that lifestyle. For example, a big one is when we want to get fit. I feel like we always just type in like healthy aesthetic, right? It's always like hourglass, perfectly flat body, which is fine, but when you're doing this, it's important to stay realistic. Like, naturally, I think I do have an hourglass shaped body. It's just not defined. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's really not defined. So, you know, so when I am looking for those inspiration pics, I will find one that does look like me and then, you know, has a flat stomach, maybe, if that's what I want, but still realistic, like not as flat. Like, another thing, I've mentioned this so many times, I know, but really affects my life. Okay, I have PCOS, so, and I know a lot of people also just in general struggle with bloating, which is so normal, but keeping your goals realistic and then also just finding the visuals to match that. Another thing for visuals is like, you know, when we're changing ourselves, we want to change everything about ourselves. So like the outfits, right? I'm still building my style. You know, there are so many styles that I love, and I think a big thing for me was I was on Pinterest and I was looking at like, you know, my favorite creators and just cute styles and outfits, but something that I started doing recently, which I definitely was not doing before, and something that my friend actually brought up to me, was, now that we have our outfits, let's go through them again a second time and figure out if we actually like the outfit or if we just like it on this person. And that really opened my eyes too, because I was like, oh, that's true. Like, it's a nice outfit, but I wouldn't actually wear it. I just like how this person, you know, looks with this outfit. And, you know, going into that as well, finding outfits that match your body type. So if you do want to do this, I would just say save all the outfits that you really like, go into it again and be like, okay, do I actually like this outfit or do I like it on this person? And I also categorize mine. I'll share my Pinterest right here. I love Pinterest, but I went into it further. So I have a folder for fashion. Then I have subfolders where I'm like casual style or just chilling outfits, going out, summer outfits, winter outfits, accessories. But yeah, overall, it's just like a super fun activity to do. So definitely do that. My next tip is to definitely journal about this, right? Going, you know, answering the points of what your career looks like, finances, relationships. A journaling prompt that I would do would be to find a few things that actually represent you. So for example, as I said, I'm a huge music lover. I feel like everyone is, but I'll find songs that really associate with me and I'll go into detail. Okay, so my next and final tip of this video is to create your mission statement. And I'm working on this based off of what I've read from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. That book actually has a website and they have a mission state builder. So you can just head there and they have a bunch of questions that you can answer and help really dig into your mission statement. So I'll leave a link in the description below. But apart from the builder from the website, a really fun thing to do would be to find quotes that define you and images, as well as songs, which I know I mentioned before, but finding song lyrics is super fun. Also defining the things that you want to accomplish as a person, which again, I talked about this in my earlier video, which is really important for your mission statement because it kind of drives, you know, how you are as a person and the things that you're going to value. And then also taken from the book, they asked, If you had 1 month to do what you needed to do, what would that be? And whatever your answer is to that is going to be your focus for this month. So make sure that you do a personal mission statement. This is optional, but I think it's also important to do a professional mission statement. Whether you're an employee or you want to be the CEO of your own company, it's really important to make a mission statement for that if that is, something you want to prioritize. But as an employee, you can delve into how you want to react in certain situations at work, how you want to treat your coworkers, how you want them to treat you, if you want to climb up the corporate ladder, things like that. And then as someone who owns a company or wants to own a company, you can go into what your company stands for, their core values and beliefs, how you treat your employees, different things like that. So mission statements are really important, especially when it comes to defining yourself as a person, because of the fact that it highlights your values and beliefs and how you treat others and the things that you attract. And before I move on, I just want to mention that mission statements change over time, and that's completely normal. When I was in grade 11, I had a class that was called Designing Your Future, and we had to write a mission statement. And my mission statement from grade 11 has definitely changed over time. I definitely don't have the same values as I did back then, especially being a scholar back then and what I wanted to do post-secondary. So it's totally normal to change. If you've never made a mission statement before, it's normal to feel that it's daunting, because it kind of is. Just work on creating a base for your mission statement. It's really important. You can take a few days to develop it. That's, completely normal. So that's all that I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope some of this resonated with you and that you actually do the steps that I talked about in the video. To all those that are watching, I hope that you have as much fun, creating your character and defining who you are as a person. I hope you have as much fun with that as I did, because at the end of the day, we're creating the best versions of ourselves, the person that will attract everything that we desire and deserve. So I'm really excited about the rest of the series. And before I leave off, I just want to say to do for next week, if you are following along, just 3 things you have to do. Define your core values as a person and create your character. Find at least 1 hobby, at least 1, preferably 3, but 1 hobby minimum, okay? Super easy to do. You can do it. And dedicate the time to that hobby, okay? And 3, write your personal mission statement. Write your professional one if you can as well, depending on if that is important to you. Definitely your personal mission statement and at least the base for that. That is all I have for today's video. I really hope that this helped you in some way. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Thursday, and I will see you next week.